I am torn. I hate anime, really. I don't know why I do a podcast like this. Hey everyone, welcome back to Save or Slay Summer Season Episode 2. I am Sean, and I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Dylan again.
I am still Alka. Last
And
time I
it's
checked.
just gonna be the three of us. We're gonna get right into it. I'm hoping this episode we talk a little more about a couple of our shows that we kind of skimmed over, talk about why we like them more for the ones we like. Then we'll have the real discussions about the shows we don't like, because this is gonna be an interesting week. So let's kick it off with Cinderella. Cinderella 9 Re. This week we watched episode 4. This week we learned a little more about our main character, Tsubasa. We got clarification that I needed, Dylan. You were right last week. Her team does win the finals that they played, and they show us that. They make a comeback. They're down like 5 in the 6th inning, and they make a comeback and win. And then we find out that Tsubasa quits playing because the rest of the team has motivations that they want to follow that didn't match up with hers. And then we learned that her friend Tomoe got her back into playing the game, and that's why she started the club. After that rousing speech about and hearing that story, or newspaper girl decides that she's gonna join the team, which gets us to 8 girls. We got 8 of them. We need one more, and that leaves us with Rio, who is the rival who we see play. And the episode focuses on her. We get to see them talk loudly in the library to each other. She overhears it. They then find out that she's trying out to be on a club team, and they go to cheer her on in the most obnoxious fashion possible as she plays baseball. She starts to get angry at her team because they're missing catches that she throws to them. They're not tagging people out when they really should be, and it's looking very similar to the finals of the game she lost to Tsubasa in. And then or girls on the sideline keep cheering, they keep yelling, and she finally gives in, decides that she can take the support, and then we find out she doesn't make the club team, but she does seem like she's gonna be joining our girls to fill out the 9 they need to play baseball. So this episode gave us some backstory. It gave us some scenes of them playing sports, which was good, nice to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems from the end title card for next episode is titled The First Game, so we actually might see more baseball.
I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
wait for the dumpster
Oh,
fire
yeah.
that will be that first game.
Oh,
True.
absolutely. The only person who I think we've had confirmation on their position is Waka. She's the girl whose brother plays baseball and who's like the good strategist. She's going to be the catcher, which, from my knowledge of baseball, which only comes from anime and 2 Philly games I've seen and any Iron Pigs game I've been to in person, so not a lot. The catcher I know does send signs and does generally talk with the pitcher
Yes,
and the
Sean.
rest of the team. So
That's
good
right.
position. Yeah, I know. Anime really helps me out. You should all watch One Outs. It's a great baseball anime about betting, and it's actual betting, not rock paper scissors. Beautiful. I like
You
this
wanna go?
episode. This might be the best episode of it so far. I hope it's not the best episode of it here on out. That'd be unfortunate. I don't have too much to talk about. I don't think it's a show that has to be burned at the stake yet. I don't think it's boring. It has a clear plot they're going with. So if it's just them playing games and working
Not
out the
yet.
team, I'll like it. Yeah, that's what I said.
Not
Not yet.
yet. It's a middling show. It'll be on my shit list eventually. I mean, it's already doing things I don't like. One, it's sports.
Not a big fan of sports.
Two,
Okay.
not a
You
big,
don't like-
not a big
you don't
fan of
like s-
sports.
You don't like sports ball?
Not a big fan of the sports ball. I mean, we had the a lot of the characters are okay, some of which are really fucking cringy to watch.
What personalities don't you like? Small
The
cat,
cat
girl
girl.
who
I don't like small cat girl. She's
Come on, she's
cringy
just
and bland.
she's shy and she just wants to get along with everyone and have
Dude,
fun.
she's
That's
gonna
all.
Yeah.
have her pop-off moment. She's gonna have it. And you're gonna sit there and you're gonna eat your words. Just letting you know right now.
So far for me, the most interesting characters is our main lead Tsubasa, her rival, and then the cheerleader. Everyone else is boring.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we see some personality growth. My biggest fear for this show is that it really, really digs into the friendship is all you need to play baseball. I do
Yeah.
hope they keep the competitive spirit that is in
Yes.
some of this team. Or if it's a story about reigniting Subasa's competitive spirit, I would love that equally. I just don't want to spend every episode with friendship, which I feel like might be what's gonna happen.
Yeah. We need this next episode, if this show lasts another week. We need the next episode to solidify
Uh-huh.
the enemy. Because yes, this show's all about friendship, but there's got to be someone that they all collectively hate, right? So they could kick their fucking ass in the final, right? There's got to be this game. I'm hoping there's gonna be some kind of like, okay, we're gonna fucking beat that guy or whoever, right? If it's all about friendship, I'm gonna get bored eventually because yes, friendship is amazing. Please don't give me 12 episodes of friendship.
Oh man, I got plenty of anime that would give you full seasons longs of friendship still, and you telling me you don't want that?
And pertaining to baseball, please just show me some fucking dingers. Like, come on.
I got
You heard it here
yeah,
first. Dylan wants to see dingers.
nothing wrong with seeing a dinger.
But yeah, that's really my all I wrote in my notes is just let's fucking go. So I'm assuming that's because they finally got the team formed. Uh,
Yeah,
and I'm really
ev-
excited to watch the next episode for the next game. I like this show so far, 100%. I think this episode was good for it, and I think
mhm.
the next episode's going to be really good.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Mm-mm.
Okay, then we'll move on. Next up is Deca-Dence. Deca-Dence has what is, in my opinion, one of its best episodes so far. I really like this episode a lot. We open with our fight scene, which focuses predominantly on Natsume, which is great. She has to back out a moment, recompose herself, remember what Kabaragi's taught her, and then she gets back in and just goes ham on some Godals. I love the fight animation. We actually get to see the fight. Like, it doesn't cut away from the action. It's yeah, I think it's solid. They wind up defeating most of the main wave, and then this big like armored rat with spikes rolls on out, and we get
Fucking
left to watch.
rat.
We get left to watch Kurenai deal with it, who is also and her team, who is just badass in general. She has this cool like long almost spear javelin thing she has, which is neat. And then they recognize Natsume. They tell her that she can join the power, not asking any additional questions. We
Mhm.
learn that Kurenai has a massive crush on Kaburagi, and let's be honest, who doesn't?
I mean, he's
Uh,
a tall, dark, and handsome.
I have a couple of friends who would refer to him as a daddy, and that would probably get
Oh,
their
wow. Yeah, list of things I didn't need to hear. Continue, please.
we get then briefed on the next activity the power is going to be taking on, which is this. They found a nest in what was once Mount Everest, and there is this alpha Gadol there that is emitting mist, and it's the team's job to take it down. We
The
find
Rat
out
King.
we find out in this own in kind of the separate lead into it that it's an event meant for the gears, and Kaburagi is told separately that the event's meant to have almost all the players fail and be killed, which doesn't seem like it'd be a problem for the gears. They'll just respawn, get new avatars. But for our tankers, that's problematic. They actually die. Kaburagi is told that him and a special force of players are going to appear to take down the boss after everyone else has failed, and they're going to kind of reignite that the rankers sort of thing, but not in the same way. And they want Kaburagi to be one of the main players there on it, which gets him to start worrying about Natsume because he knows she's going into the mission. So he tries to explain to her that there's no way her doing anything will change anything. They found nests before, and none of it makes a difference, and it just falls flat because, of course, he knows it's all a game and it's not to her. So he just winds up breaking her equipment, leaving Natsumi then heads over to the rest of the power who are eating, having a merry time, expecting this to be the last final fight. And Natsumi speaks with Kurenai. They talk about their motivations for why they do it. Natsumi kind of thinks on everything she's been told that she's not, it's too dangerous. Her arms is getting in the way. She's not fit for it. That nothing she does is gonna make a difference. She thinks about her father and what he wanted, and then settles on the idea that she wants to do this to improve herself. And we're left with her and the rest of the power heading out to do the fight, and Kaburagi kind of watching on, getting ready to prepare himself for his role. It's gonna be interesting to see next episode. I'm very excited for this kind of raid event style thing. I think this episode's super good.
All I wrote down for this episode was "fuck yeah."
Seems like we write similar notes.
It seems like we write similar notes. So yeah, I really enjoyed the fight scene. We actually see what she's doing come to fruition in that fight. There's a little bit of drama between her and Kaburagi. He doesn't exactly explain everything, and he can't explain everything because he can't tell her it's a game and stuff like that. Was that guy talking to Kaburagi an admin of some sort?
I don't
I
know
feel
if
like
we
he
met him.
was,
I think he is.
but
We have not met that
I'm
character yet,
wondering.
but he seemed like he was a higher up
He
cyborg
did.
in their cyborg hierarchy.
Seems like he knew of Kabaragi's position, and that obviously he knows he's been working as a cleaner, but he also seems like he might have known he's been searching for bugs because he didn't seem too surprised when Kabaragi was like, "Are you sure I'm allowed to?" And
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
where I
think
was
he would
going with
overstep
that.
I don't think he would overstep boundaries like that. I think we would have known.
So if he doesn't have to look for bugs anymore, I mean, Pipe is probably a little bit safer, and so is
I think they're still gonna want him to look for bugs. I just think
Natsume.
they haven't told him that yet. I think
Well, yeah. Um, I feel like this could go in a I hope it doesn't go in the direction where Natsume, goes to fight this thing and, she's a bug, so they're not expecting her. And then she ends up killing it somehow. And then, Kaburaki doesn't have to come in and save the day, and most of the players don't die, and, the event's cleared, really, not necessarily easily, but, a lot quicker than they thought. They thought all the players were going to die, but they clear it with, most of the players still alive. I feel like it could go that way, and I'd be okay with that, but then I'm worried about, what happens to our characters and stuff like that. I think that would be really interesting.
I'm okay with the Natsumi being a bug is a problem, but the thing is, I don't think it would be that Natsumi being a bug causes her to be able to defeat this thing. I think because Natsumi being a bug is only because she had lost the pulse in her life and then was resuscitated and it messed up her chip.
Yeah,
By all logic, she's technically a perfectly fine tanker. There's
true.
nothing wrong with her outside of her own personal desire and that stuff, which might be off the charts from what the admins would expect of a tanker. I think if the team's gonna be able to beat it, it's gonna be because Natsumi's a good moral boost for them, and or that Natsumi being there is gonna cause Kaburagi to go in his regular avatar, his tanker avatar, and fight with them. I don't. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. We do meet a couple of new characters. We meet a group of triplets. No, they might not be triplets. They're siblings of some sort. Mindy, Mendy, and Mundy. Beautiful names. Don't get told who's who, but we get the names for Kurenai's two partners, So and Ryuku.
When I think it was Mindy was the one who flew off the handle.
I believe so.
When Mindy was like, unfamiliarity is gonna get you killed, and she acted all tough and stuff like that. I think it's because she doesn't want to get attached. She's a
It's
softie.
possible.
I'm calling it right now.
There's a couple. I'm very interested. It's the reason why I can't imagine we're gonna lose all the tankers this fight, especially if we lose one of those three, or if we
Yeah.
lose one of the two who's with Kurenai. I can't imagine we're gonna lose anyone too important this fight. The show could throw me for a loop. The show's thrown me for a loop with this concept alone.
With the
So
fucking cyborgs, none of
yeah,
us saw that coming, I don't think.
I think it's a real shame if people picked this show up episode 1, didn't like Natsumi, and then watched episode 2, didn't know what was going on and dropped it, because episodes 3 and 4 have been wonderful for this show.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think Natsumi's becoming I really like Natsumi's direction. I'm glad she's not just I'm doing this for the greater good of everyone here. I'm glad there's a little bit. I think having completely selfless characters aren't that great, really. I think it makes them dull and boring. I think her wanting to stick it to the people who have told her that she's not going to be cut out for it is a much better story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really liked this episode. I thought that it brought a lot of I really like the what's gonna happen before it happens. Like when they drop that bomb of oh, we're doing this so people funnel out, and so we can only keep the really good ones and funnel out the garbage. Basically, that was oh shit, this is all planned. This was that means that the previous raids were all planned as well. I mean, obviously it's a game, right? But when you see it from that, it's a different perspective. If this meta world cyborg stuff wasn't happening, you would just think that it's oh, it's just how it is when you're out here on this wasteland. But no, it's all planned, it's all programmed. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
it adds a really different layer to the show. Like, I think the show could be fine without it, but I think in the end, I'm hoping this is gonna elevate it to a degree, like this conflict, because it gives a bigger enemy than just the Gadolls, right? Like
Yeah.
at some point, I feel like we have to address the people running the system. Like,
Hmm. My only worry for the show would be that Natsume becoming kind of like a Mary Sue a little bit. I want to make sure that like I like that training arc that she had with the tutorial, but I don't want her to just kind of just randomly pop off every episode. I want her to like learn still. Like
mhm.
obviously it's kind of hard to like because I've never used anti-gravity floating and needle shooters. So like
Yeah,
I don't have too much experience myself or in any other show watching of how that really works. But like if there, I would love if there was just like another little segment in the future episode or two where she's still like practicing like new tricks and stuff to do.
mhm. I would
Um,
appreciate stuff with her and Kurenai. I think Kurenai could stand as a good mentor if Kaburagi doesn't keep doing it, or just kind of anyone really. I think a lot of these characters are really cool once we get to dive into them more. I hope Kaburagi. I hope Kurenai's character is not just I love Kaburagi. This episode seemed to give us confirmation that she is just a tanker, a regular tanker. She's not like Kaburagi, who like is using an avatar tanker. Because I think she would have acknowledged the bug comment differently. Even if she was playing it off, I think we would have seen something in her reaction of like, "Oh,
Oh
like I feel
yeah.
like she would
When
know."
Natsumi says she was some people refer to as a bug, she would have made a reaction, I think.
Yeah. So I think she's definitely just a regular old tanker, which is fine. We were just curious about that. We said like maybe she's like Kaburagi.
mhm.
It just seems like she is just kind of the centerpiece of the tankers who are in the power.
Yeah, good show. I thought this was one of my favorite episodes this week.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah, this is
It,
one
it
of
was
three
tough. It's
shows.
tough.
This is one of three shows that I think had its best showing out of all of its episodes this week, just because I think it's doing the right thing where it's getting better. I haven't it didn't dip, which is good.
Yeah.
Okay, Dylan, Gibiate,
Yeah. Okay, so Gibiate.
talk to me about
So
Gibiate.
Gibiate. So this episode, hold on, let me just scroll down a little bit. All right. So this episode entails kind of like this moving away from their current camp that they were in because it got blown up and the power went out and everything. So they're like, all right, we gotta leave. So apparently half of the people like disappeared and it only ended up being like the main like group of characters and no one really questioned it, so it was fine. But they planned to move north to the countryside. And they said like travel a little bit north, and then it ended up being on the complete other side of Japan.
Yeah,
I saw
So
that.
just a little north.
a little north.
I don't really know distance in Japan too much, but I feel like that's a bit more than a little north.
I mean,
Um,
it's probably just a little larger than most of PA.
so they go to this like mall or whatever, and they're like searching for like their old stuff to like bring with them, and then they find a helicopter, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll just take this north." And I'm like, "Oh, that makes it so easy, yeah." And then they find two things. They find this dude laying down on the roof unconscious, and on the other roof they find this thing just like hanging on the edge, looking at him,
Jesus
and they're like,
Christ.
"Oh shit, it's a Gibiate," and like, it's fucking light outside though, and he's like, "Oh, not all Gibiates can only fight in the dark. That's an abnormality." And I'm like, "Oh shit, that's a cool term. Okay, okay." And then we find out why Gibiates CG fucking sucks so bad. Oh my god, it
Do
was
you,
it was a really hard fight. Hold on, hold on. We'll talk about it in a
yeah,
We'll
second.
talk about it.
I'll let you finish. I'll let you
But
finish.
they show us some really, really bad CG fights, some really cool animation fights from Kenroku and Sensui. They're just basically just somersaulting with a helicopter, and then we find out that this monk dude is another time traveler. So, you know, we have another a dude, and he's like, "Oh, I'm from even further back in time with the monks," and they're like, "Oh, what era?" And the crazy mom's is like, "Oh, I know exactly what that era it is, and blah blah blah. Here's a history lesson." I'm like, please move on. Um, but the monk's really cool. So they find out that this creature was called a meteora, which
Mhm.
stands there and basically just shoots its mouth tentacles at you. Um,
Which
Brian,
is also its stinger.
yes, because Brian gets hit by it, and completely fine up until the very end of the episode where he insta transforms in 3 seconds into a monster and attacks the doctor who's trying to help him. This show is getting hard to watch. Let's put it lightly. It's
Yeah.
not a good episode. Not a good episode at all. I thought episode 2 was good. I think episode 3 was just like, what? I mean, the part that also annoys me a lot is that the quote unquote main character, who we really haven't heard anything from, the girl, she literally sticks out like a sore thumb, like she's trying to be an idol or something because her outfit does not match the scenario at all. And she's
Yeah.
just like, it's like when you're playing Skyrim and you see your created character in a cutscene, and it's like, oh my god, it's kind of like that.
So
But yeah,
earlier in the week, I typed in the chat, I think I can forgive hentai because there are other things that are ruining my eyeballs or something to that effect. This is that show.
mhm.
This show has become so hard to watch for me. I like you. Oh, it hurts. It physically hurts. Most bad shows on my anime list have around like a maybe a 6 rating.
Show us a 4.5.
It has a 4.5 on my anime list.
Something like that. Which like I want to be honest. I don't trust my anime list opinions. A lot of the shows that we said are the best shows have like high 7, low 8 ratings. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that go into community reviews that I don't trust in.
Yeah,
This
I
show is
just
rough though. This show
I
there's a
haven't
reason it is so low.
I've never seen a score this low before. I
Well, okay,
thought
okay. To be
that
fair, to be
like I
fair,
looked too early and there was like a low sample size, but no, this is way into the thousand. Like I thought I made a mistake looking at the number, and I thought I had like the manga or something. But no, it's actually a 4.5. It's hard to watch. I hate this. It's like detestable. It physically hurts me. I hate all of the characters. I hate the art style. I hate the CG. Like there's nothing redeeming about this show except maybe some sort of like meme relatability to the fact that they're fighting a virus and we're literally like in a lockdown. Or we were in a lockdown
to,
like a couple of months ago. So
so to be fair, I feel like we shouldn't be using my anime list as a subjective scoring of what
No,
we
I
think
I
about the
I
show.
well,
agree.
no, but even
It's fine.
still,
It's
a
hold on. But
4.5.
two, this was just an utter waste of an episode. If you actually look at what happened from beginning to end,
Mhm.
they wanted to move north. They did not get anywhere. They went back to their lab at the camp at the
The
end.
only
They
the
didn't
only
get
thing that we
anywhere.
get the only thing we get is that the doctor gets like additional research materials and possibly more samples that he wants to for the vaccine. Because that's why they're in that building to begin with. Because the rest of the group is going to the mall now, which is interesting because that means the doctor's alone with Brian
Yeah.
transformed. I think the doctor knew. I have no reason to believe the doctor didn't suspect that Brian was transforming and that the thing he gave him wasn't actually like a tranquilizer of some kind.
And
I don't think there's. I think this is a fake threat. I think the doctor's fine.
yeah. And it's weird because I keep thinking that like I don't know, maybe it's just their expressions, but I keep thinking that someone is like up to something in the group,
The
especially the
doctor.
doctor.
Dude, he has a shot when he's talking to Brian where when they're in the building where there's just the shadow over him and his glasses are like tilted down and like just a little bit of light's hitting him and he looks so evil in that shot. Like I don't trust him. Which is weird because they haven't given me a reason not to yet. Like I don't. I'm just saying, if this show is doing the scientist who wants to create an antidote is the bad guy. I don't know how I feel about that take right now.
Yeah. No, like I'm just like every time they I don't know, maybe it's just the art style of how they all look like JoJo-esque, like super like edged and like
Yeah,
hardened, but it's just like every time they turn to someone, I'm like, that's the bad guy. That's the bad. No, never mind. No, that's him. No, it's the
we
fucking
don't
doctor.
we don't
Nah.
have one yet. We don't have like it's much for what happens in this show. We don't have like any like evil force besides the Gibiate, and I don't want to see them. I don't want to look at them. I don't want them anywhere near me. Dude, the scene where the Meteora falls because he crashes the helicopter into it, my brain went, "What was it holding on to? Where did it go? Because it's just a center hole.
Where'd he
Where,
come from?
where was it
Cotton
hanging?
Joe.
What was it doing there? Like, the set piece doesn't really
Oh,
work there."
vibing.
Yeah, it's just vibing there, bro.
I
Like,
also really wanted the monk to like fight the Gibeah this episode. I really wanted to see that happen. I really wanted to see this monk just destroy things because he's super strong.
but like,
There's
but
so many things I want from this show, but the biggest one I want from this show is for it to be gone.
My
there's a problem when like now I'm just expecting more things from the past to be showing up. Like I don't even understand what's happening.
I feel like I'd rather have a flashback episode next week so that I can watch some good animation of two guys actually sword fighting. Because I think if it was two actual characters fighting, it'd be fine. I think they could show us real action. Like I mentioned, Deca-Dence does a good job of showing the impact on the creature and showing every step of the combat. Whereas this show, it's like, Sensui has swiped his sword, and now you see the impact of the sword, but you didn't see him swing the sword at the creature. You just see the sword break on the creature.
You know what I've
which
also
now he needs a
noticed?
new sword.
Now he needs a new sword. You know what I've also noticed? Do you know how many frames they're either standing still or
A
only their
lot.
mouth is moving?
A lot.
So many.
Oh, it was so off sync this
It's
episode, wasn't it?
awful.
It was so
Yeah.
off sync. That's right.
Dude, like literally, it's just so bad. Like this show had to have a budget of like $32 max,
And they saved 30.
and
So
they
we
saved 30. Like,
I think we have a really good opinion of Gibiate.
Yeah, we're good on this show. This show's really
yeah,
bad.
fuck
This show
this
did
show.
not have a good
This is the
showing this
only
week.
show
Not
I'm
a good
gonna
week.
slay
Not
this
fuck
week.
this show, but it did have a bad showing
I
this
wanna
week.
I wanna talk about some other things this week because I think there are some other shows that have the Gibiate problem, not of looking bad, but of not having a good week. But
I
let's
mean,
talk about a
at least
different
my
show.
eyes don't want to bleed when I fucking watch hentai.
Yeah, what's the
Yes.
next show?
Let's talk about Great Pretender. Nathan, tell me
Mhm.
about. I'll get the names for you. Tell me about Great Pretender.
So we have just more stuff with Casanero, trying to get him to buy the drug. He buys the drug. He, wants the exclusive rights to it. They literally remade and renovated the building to be exactly like his lab in Japan. And I think the dude with the kid, the bodyguard, Salazar, I think he's growing on me quite a lot because he knows that they're fucking scamming him, but it's not his money. And I think the fact that our Japanese scammer, like the fact that he like literally made it so he was out with his child for an entire day, I think that really sold him onto their side. I don't know. I like the show a lot. I think it's hilarious. The fact that they literally put so much time into him like learning the show so he could quote it verbatim back at him. It's like the masterpieces. These are my shows. These are my favorite shows. I live my life by these shows.
This show does a lot of really small things I love.
Yeah.
When they're walking the Walk of Fame, and Makoto just looks down, goes to Salazar. Where's the
Where's
main
the
actor
star?
from? Where is he? And he's like, he's not on here. And it's like, it's such a good movie.
It's like
The
Rice
constant act is
something.
so good. I don't remember.
I don't remember the movie. It was something Rice.
Dylan, did you catch her Naruto reference this episode?
No, actually. Wait, when?
Salazar's son looks at Makoto and goes, first he goes, is he Chinese? And they go, nope, Japanese. That's a little, he's a kid. We'll let it slide. But then he goes, so you're a ninja? And Makoto looks him dead in the eyes and goes, believe it.
Oh my god, I did not catch that.
Even I caught that one.
There's also, on the Walk of Fame, you see, David Radcliffe's name and Harry Potter above it. There's like they do like it's clearly meant to mimic the real world setting, and the music in this show is amazing. The music that plays throughout most of this episode is really good.
I like their music a lot.
It was just good. Yeah, I really like this. This episode is actually, it surprised me. There were points in this episode that it was really like dark and like, wow, like the main
father?
character's backstory was all happy, and then it ended up being really, really bad.
Yeah, we knew his father did something wrong because we were told his father
Yeah,
went to jail.
yeah. I didn't think it'd be for that. So that's really fucked up.
Something that is interesting is that we are getting, for our main character Makoto, he is giving them an alias. When he's the doctor, he's Dr. Adamura. His actual last name is Edamame.
I think you're wrong on that. I think his name's actually Adamura.
It's Adamura. They made a joke because it sounds like the food edamame.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. He is a scammer. I'll double check when they're talking about his name. We can figure that out later. That's not too important.
But just to further go on that point about his dad, it like you can kind of tell how he became a scammer from that because like he trusted his dad, and then his dad ended up completely like in essence scamming his own son by like telling him like, oh, as long as we have high morals, it doesn't matter what you do, and then completely not doing that. Probably really fucked him up.
We also know from last week's episode, from the last episode we watched, that his mother passed away from an illness, and that he was trying to get money to help her that whole time. I mean, he was scamming because he needed the money, most likely for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, once you hit the point when your mom's dead, your dad's been arrested for child trafficking. I mean, if you're already on that life, I'm impressed. I'm impressed he has the morals he has, of that he doesn't want to get involved with drugs. He doesn't want to make the drugs. He doesn't, like, he has a list of things that even he doesn't want to cross that line for, because like he's still, like, he views himself as still better than his dad. Like, he doesn't want to become that, clearly.
Yeah. The only problem I have with the show is that it's super like it's a web that got knotted up in another web. Like there's a lot
Another
going
web.
on from a lot of different directions, which honestly a lot of people would say is good, but I'm
Yeah.
stupid. So it's hard for me to keep up with
Yeah.
all like the bathroom scene. Like how the fuck did they know he was going to the bathroom and shit? And like why you interrupt a man when he's pooping, right? But then they're like,
There's
oh,
a really awkward scene
we're like,
in
oh,
that bathroom.
sorry, you're mid shit, but like here's some glasses, and he's like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Then he
I
walks out
imagine.
and Sal's is like, "What the fuck were you?" And he's like, "I was shitting, bro." And it's like, "Oh,
Told
okay."
you. Um,
Answer
uh,
your phone, stupid.
one of the best scenes this episode is definitely what Nathan had said when he confronts Salazar about the camera and the bear. He's like, "You know, we're trying to, like, rob your boss blind. Why aren't you stopping?" He goes, "I only get paid to stop the man from getting, like, arrested and any physical harm to him. I don't care about his money." Which is odd, because he's working this job to get more money in a secure way. So you think he would care about the money aspect of the job.
Yeah, but he kind of, well, like the point of that was like he kind of takes him away from his son and like
Yeah,
makes him work so that he can't see his son.
yeah. It was definitely a very. I enjoyed the conversation between him and Salazar, and definitely the fact that Makoto. You know, I really wanted Makoto to look at him when Salazar goes, "You don't know what it's like to be a father," for him to be like, "You don't understand what it's like to be a son," because that really felt like what that
Yeah.
conversation was Makoto knows what Salazar's son's going through, because he went through something similar.
Yeah, good episode. Good episode.
Yeah.
Good show.
The breaking point of, "I will turn in Laurent and Casano, as long as you let Salazar free," is it's a good play. I can't wait to see how that gets fucked up. I can't wait to see
Oh
how
yeah.
they just tangle everything next week, because I just know it's gonna be wonky.
Yep.
Dylan,
Yeah.
let's talk Lapis.
Okay. So you guys were under the suspicion that this might be an idol show.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you right now, I think it is an idol show.
But they're called
So,
orchestras, not an idol show.
The orchestra is very
oh,
clear difference.
my bad, my bad.
Well,
Whoa.
let's talk. Talk to me, Dylan.
All right, yeah. So, so we got the foreign exchange students basically that come over. For what reason? I have no idea, and I don't even think they said why. But we got these three sisters that come over and meet our group of friends, and they're like, "Oh, we have like sister issues basically, and you got to help us fix them." And they're like, "Okay, let's fix them." So they do some stupid shit to fix them. They go fight some magical monsters in the forest, and which, by the way, that when that first monster appeared out of the bushes, that scared the living shit out of me. I'm like, they're just zooming in on the bush, and I'm like, ah, it's just gonna like a cute thing pops out. And it's like, boom! I'm like, what the fuck? How you gonna do that to me?
The
Um,
one girl just fucking socks
Yeah,
the shit out of it.
that was her
That
dodgeball
was
girl.
actually hilarious.
but yeah, I thought that like forest scene was really good. I liked the monster designs, and I liked them fighting it. I thought it was cool. But so then they figure out like, oh, so like the chick's like for some reason the entire time the chick was hanging off a cliff.
How long do you think
She's
she's hanging there?
got some insane
Too long.
arm strength. But then they're like, "Oh, I'll save you." She goes down to save her, and then she like slips. Like, "Oh, yeah, this it was both." And then she just fucking first Hokage's that shit and just like makes the trees grow around them. And she's like, "Oh, I got both of you." And they're like, "Thanks so much. We're not gonna call each other idiots for walking out in the forest alone. Our sister thing is fixed. Let's go make a song." So they go make a song, and then they have their little idol fest, which really solidified that yes, this is an idol show. Which I had to look more up because I had no idea what that meant. Apparently, it is a cultural thing, like you guys said, where they just dance to a song. I
Yeah.
don't understand it. I talked to my one friend about it, about what the hell idol shows are, and he's like, "Yeah, you kind of just have to turn your brain off when you're listening to it. That's really all that like it's for." I'm like, "Wow, that sounds awful," but not a bad episode in itself. But man, I'm not a fan of idol shows.
We get a couple of small things this episode that I think are interesting. We see Yui from Supernova at the beginning of the episode, which is very easy to forget about because we are chocked full of sisters for the rest of it. But Yui starts the episode by telling Tiara that her sister would be disgusted with her because she's on the brink of expulsion, which is kind of unfair. I mean, this isn't really Tiara's fault. She's not doing too much to help with the situation, but she was kind of dealt this hand. But I think that's an interesting plot line. I think we're really just setting up for the next episode or two for them to eventually realize they need to form an idol group to save themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Did you catch this episode that once again Lavi was humming when they were together?
I did notice that this time, yeah.
Yes. She's the short girl. Right before they yell at her for not changing to her pajamas, she's humming on the couch again. And it seems like Tiara and Rose are like kind of both into the music. So I feel like it's just a matter of the group realizing this is what they need to do.
But the problem is that idol groups are supposed to be in 3 in this show. So what's gonna happen in their group of
5.
5? Can you have a 5-person idol group?
If you mean in other things, there are idol groups that get as large as like 20, Dylan.
But the show is of 3s.
We've only seen 3 so far. I don't know if that's the way it is or what. I mean, they said max team was 5, right?
Maybe.
My-
But everyone else
my-
is in 3, so they're only 5.
Yeah. My brain had the disconnect from the fact that originally I thought this academy was meant for them to become idols, and that was part of being a witch. My brain now recognizes, no, I'm an idiot. It's just a thing that a lot of them do,
Yeah,
which is
no.
really weird.
There's still no like practical reason as to why they're learning to be witches.
There are a lot of really cool things in relation to witches this episode. We talk about divination magic. We see some like cool items, and
But like, what the fuck is their purpose in this society?
I couldn't tell you.
We live in a society. Yeah. I mean, like, it wasn't a bad episode in itself, right? But like, are we gonna sit here and watch an idol show for a whole season?
I mean, do we have things that need to go before the idol show?
I don't think yet. However,
Yeah. I
Gibiate.
mean, yeah. Put a pin in this one. Yeah. This is probably the most important question about this show, though, and I can't let us move on before we answer it. What do we think of the song?
my brain was
They-
on during it, contrary to popular belief.
My
Whatever.
my player didn't have a translation for that song, so I was just kind of listening to them sing without
Yeah,
knowing what they were saying.
yeah.
Um,
I was just saying, yes, idol show, woo!
I mean, I liked like kind of like the rock added into like the Japanese style music. It wasn't bad to listen to. It didn't make me want to claw my eyes out, so that's good.
There's only one show that made me want to claw my ass at this week, and we already talked about it.
Oh, I know, buddy. You're not gonna give me a chance not to hear about it. I get the feeling until it's voted off.
But yeah, I think we're good on this show. It's not a bad show, but like, it's an idol show.
Okay, well, Dylan,
Yeah.
talk to me
Oh
about
no!
this
Oh, it's
week's
this already?
episode about
shit.
yeah.
All right,
Talk
yeah.
to me about this week's episode of Monster Girl Doctor.
Monster Girl Doctor honestly surprised me this week.
Mhm.
So we started out with our issue. Safi's fucking pregnant. How the fuck do snakes get pregnant in the span of a day? Turns out, big fucking prank. Get pranked, get fucked. It was a basket and a blanket of an egg. And they're like, what kind of egg is it? And he's like, just by looking at it, he's like, oh, it's a harpy egg. And she's like, oh, okay. How the fuck do you know that? But he's a monster doctor, so you don't question it, okay? He's got his degree. You don't, kind of thing. So they hold on. Sorry, I tabbed
Yeah,
out.
yeah, you have to get the next part right. This is a very complicated episode.
So they're chilling. They're fucking chilling in the house, talking about like, oh, we gotta find out where the egg came from. Like, how the fuck, like, it's not even fertilized or whatever he said. And then all of a sudden, there's people outside the house, and they're like, oh shit. And the snake bitch is like, tangos 4:30, 3 o'clock, and they're like, oh shit. So they turn off the lights, and then the guys outside get pissed and like, oh no, and then they slam the door in, but they're long gone, right? So they're like, oh shit, why are these people chasing us? And then they get them in the hallway or this like alleyway, and then the flesh golem chick just starts beating the shit out of them,
Oh yeah.
and she's like, oh, you guys need protection, and they're like, yeah, we do, and she's like, you're doing this mission with us then. They're like, that's not protection. And then but she's like, yeah, it's the best option you got, which basically meant like, come the fuck with me. So they get entangled in this whole operation to stop these slavers who were just attacking them, right? Meanwhile, they have this egg the whole time, right? Which, by the way, the egg never gets mentioned again. The egg is just, it was the quest starter, basically, of this episode. You never see that egg again. It probably smashed somewhere. It's probably dead. But they start to go through this mission, right? Where like all of the old characters start to resurface, right? And they all kind of have this similar thing of why they're helping is that they're in love with the doctor kind of thing, but they're helping out nonetheless, right? So they go through, you see a bunch of action. The show actually has really good action that I was surprised with. So they go through, fight the slavers, and then they find the, oh, by the way, the slavers, and they kidnap harpies and they force them to lay eggs, and then they sell their eggs to people with, and I quote, questionable priorities? Was that the word?
Preferences?
Preferences, that was the word, which already sounds weird.
Mhm.
Probably looking for some omelets. But anyway, so they go in, they save the harpies, and the doctor looks over and he's like, "Oh shit, why is she in pain?" And they're like, "Oh, her, her abdomen hurts." And he's like, "All right, let me feel your abdomen." So he's like feeling her up, and of course, you know, when someone touches your abdomen, you start like nutting. Um, Turns out she had an egg stuck in there. So our doctor gets right into it, right? He fucking pulls her pants down. He's like, "All right, get this fucking egg out right fucking now." Meanwhile, Safi and the Dragon Lady are just tail whipping everyone who fucking comes through. They get the egg out. What else happens?
Right up the
Oh,
cloaca.
yeah.
Safi gets stabbed.
Safi gets stabbed by poison, but because she's a snake, the poison only puts her to sleep. So then she wakes up and the doctor's right there, and we assume that everything went well in the mission, right? And then the doctor's like, "Oh, that's right." So randomly during this fight, Safi has this like character moment where she starts explaining how the doctor doesn't know two things about her. One, an illness, which she doesn't say,
We'll
and then
talk about it.
and then two, the fact that her clan is around the lit bets to assassinate them if they overstep their boundaries. To which the doctor goes, "Oh yeah, we knew about that the whole time." And she's like, "Oh fuck." To which then she responds by ripping her clothes off and throwing him on the bed. To which he responds with, "No, stop it." To which she responds with, "Oh, okay." And then the episode fucking ends.
Well, she falls back asleep because she's exhausted. But
Yeah. But yeah, if I honestly like that weird part at the end aside, the typical monster girl doctor stuff at the end aside, this episode wasn't bad. It
this
actually was
is
pretty dope.
It's
this
the
isn't the
fucking
same.
harpies.
This is
I
in
knew
the
we had to get
same.
this show off before
Hold
the
on, this is in
harpies.
the same boat, in my opinion, as the mermaid episode. It's really like if you think besides like the noises that come out of the harpy, like this is just a man. This is just a doctor helping a woman give birth. Technically, is what this episode is. Like there's nothing nearly as bad this episode as some of the other stuff we've gotten, like last week's. I agree with you, Dylan. I think its action's very good. I think I could give this show one more week if I had to see if it falls back into the horrible things that were episode 1 and 3. And if it does that again, I'm not gonna sit through a cycle of porn, not quite there, porn, not quite there, porn every week. I wouldn't be able to do it. But like, I don't think this is the worst thing this week. I really don't think this was as bad as previous examples have been. Can we take some bets on something quick?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Incurable disease. Was it actually disease? Is it love? Or is she just incredibly horny?
It's
Aw.
love. The incurable disease is love. She.
I think
That's
she's
what
got
most
like gonorrhea or something, but like let's just go with that, I guess.
gonorrhea.
Man, I can't wait for next episode to be like a spider. And then just for
No,
us to go,
no
nope, we're out
spider.
of here.
No spider. By the way,
It's
the fucking bro, I swear to God, they do not understand. I mean, maybe I don't understand how nipples work, but I'm pretty sure they don't fucking 7 and 4 o'clock off their
she wasn't
boobs.
she wasn't in this episode, Dylan. It's fine.
But Safi was it when she was fucking like pseudo raping him.
I just turn my brain off and don't look at the screen and just move on.
Wait, are you saying as an anime reviewer you don't watch the show?
As I turn my brain off, and when I say I don't look at the screen, I mean my eyes just glaze over and I act like I don't know what I'm watching. My
That's
brain
an
very much
acceptable
does
answer.
have to look at it.
That's an acceptable
Uh,
answer.
yeah, it's what you do when you see an idol. I do it when I see porn in my anime.
I guess we just have different preferences.
Yeah, Nathan, what were your thoughts this week on Monster Girl Doctor? Because don't get me wrong, if we're all gonna say yeah, let's kill
It's
it this week, I'll
fucking
kill it this week.
boring.
I will kill this show this week if you give me the chance.
Oh, I'm slaying the show. I was really hoping to get it off before the harpy episode because of Dylan.
I thought that I didn't want to say it last week, but I went Dylan. The only reason we're not voting this up for Uzaki is because we
Well, like,
haven't seen the Harpy
well,
yet.
like harpies aside, though, like honestly, this episode was good. Like we got old characters that came back
Yeah,
and like
no,
actually
this
did something.
had
It wasn't.
good action.
It wasn't like other shows where it's like, oh, once once their quest line's done, bye, go away, kind of thing, right? Like this, honestly, like if you watch this episode, other than the part at the end, this was a good episode that I
Uh,
would recommend to someone.
this show is like a pain in the ass to watch, but it's not as a pain in the
Why
ass to watch as Gibiate.
are you worried that someone's going to walk into your room on one of the many questionable scenes that play, and you'll have to explain why you're watching this show?
Dude, I'm gonna be watching this show, right? And it's gonna be the fucking spider episode or whatever, and like he's gonna be shoving his hand up the silk hole, and it's gonna be really hard to explain what is happening.
Well,
Okay.
obviously, now that you learn about it
Yeah,
before
we know the
you
anatomy.
inspect each specimen monster, right? So you could just tell them like, oh, you know,
I'm doing research.
ignore the 9 o'clock nipples.
You do want to be a neurosurgeon. Sometimes you have to understand the rest of the anatomy too of the
Exactly.
monster girls.
Sometimes you
True.
gotta stick your finger up some butts. I mean, silk holes, right?
Are we done talking about monster girl doctor?
Yeah,
I would I would I
I'm
would be
pretty all
pretty
right.
pleased to stop talking about Monster Girl Doctor.
Okay. Then let me talk for again. I know Dylan's unfortunate. Let's talk about Mr. Love Queen's choice. This is a very week for this episode. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good, but let's talk. Wadashi has another dream, which makes it very clear that she's an evolver, and her ability is that she gets dreams of things that are going to happen. Not very good because every time the dream stops before the important thing, where she gets saved, happens, and that'd be nice for her to know. You know, it'd be good for her to know she's not going to die every time she has a terrible nightmare.
Which
But she
so
has a
far
dream
has
that she's
happened 2 days in a row.
yes, it's not been a good week for her. She has a dream that she's gonna be shot by a man. Beautiful. We get a little scene with Lucian where he moves in. Sorry, I have to post these names in chat. It's very hard to remember all 5 characters who are important for this show. Keep it nice and simple. So we see a little bit about Lucian. He's moved in next door. He tries not to be creepy. He's a little creepy. I don't
A
really
little.
trust him. She goes and she has a meeting with Victor where Victor's like, "You're doing a shitty job. This is a terrible 5-year plan. You only talk about the next episode. What are you going to do for the rest of your 5 years? You're terrible at this." She's like, and her inner monologue goes, "Why are you so mean to me? I know you're right. Why are you so mean to me though?" And then they go about their ways and they sit down to her and her team sit down to plan and they figure out there's this nice restaurant who gets amazing ratings in the review section for the food, but gets terrible business scores. Like the restaurant itself has like 1 star, while the food gets 5. Specifically, the pudding. Now, hear me out. I don't think this is too big of a problem. I don't think this would be a sign of this must be the occult or something magical going on, but they apparently think so. And the goal is to get Kiro involved, the idol, into doing this episode. And it's a great that he's a huge fan of this restaurant. So she goes and she meets with Kiro, makes him some pudding for the meeting so that she can treat him to it. He calls her potato chip princess. That's not important. I just felt like that
It is.
needed to be
It is.
addressed.
It is
Okay,
important.
good.
Thank you.
She walks into the building, and who does she bump into around the corner? It's Victor. Why is Victor here? Because he's got stocks in the market, baby, and he has to be everywhere. Victor time stops because he feels bad, I guess, about bumping into her and her pudding. And they look at the pudding, and the pudding's ruined. It's terrible. It's a mess. But he tells her she has to have it chilled before anyone eats it, because that's the proper way to eat pudding. And then Kira walks around the corner and he just, time stop, but he doesn't care. And Victor's like, he's an evolver. Kid probably doesn't know it because he's dumb, and then drops the time stop and walks away. We then see Kiro put the pudding away so that he can have it later. They talk about it. They tell her the restaurant. She goes to try to find it. The restaurant's closed 4 days in a row as she tries to get in contact with these people. Great business model.
Must be
Uh,
COVID hours.
and then the singular waiter in the restaurant happens to come in with groceries. He's like, come on in. Why not? We'll treat you. Before she even gets food, she goes, "Hi, I'm from a talent agency, and we'd like to interview you." And she goes, "I'll go talk to the chef." And the chef says, "Get the fuck out of my shop." And then Carol walks in and goes, "Hi, you should eat first before you be a bitch about this." Uh,
Wow.
so they eat. Kira doesn't say that. Kira's a good boy. So they eat. She loves the food. It tastes familiarly like a pudding she had when she was younger, and she tells Kiro that she was kidnapped at 5 and can't remember anything before that event. And so she's looking for whoever makes this delicious pudding that this pudding happens to remind her of. They leave after she's told that they won't do the interview. She gets a call back. She comes back in, and we see that the chef's actually Victor. and he explains that he'll do the interview, but he won't do it. The waiter will, and then he explains that he makes the pudding because he's looking for someone convenient.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
It's not.
her.
No,
so
it's not. It's someone else.
so they celebrate the fact that they're gonna be able to run the show on the restaurant. Lucian takes her out to see fireworks, and then all of a sudden Gavin walks up and pulls a gun on him, and Lucian goes no and puts up a barrier. To which we end the episode on Gavin pulling the trigger suspensefully, as if there's not a giant barrier between them and the gun. We also
You
get
put up
this
a magical barrier. Time for my special move.
we
Gun.
also get this very weird scene where in like the middle of the episode where
Yes.
Victor teleswaps the pudding between him and Kiro with the pudding he's made,
Wait, what?
which yeah, so like he has the pudding in the freezer. I took it as it, so I took it as this, that he swapped the two because then Victor eats the pudding,
I don't think he.
and it is
I think he just went and
He,
just replaced it.
well no because
yeah, he replaced it.
do you think
It's
he
the
went
crap
in and
pudding.
I took it as he literally just fucking teleport swapped the two because that's where my brain went.
So,
I mean,
okay, Sean, I don't know what
teleport.
evolvers do, but I'm pretty sure they can't do that.
You don't think they can teleport puddings?
No,
They
he
can't.
he
I don't,
like he could freeze time, but like
I don't think
the
pudding
point is he
teleportation is one of
switched
the
him.
perks
Maybe
you get.
he switches the pudding at some point.
I think a
I
lot
thought
more
he teleported
practically
it.
is that
Fucking
he
teleported
just.
pudding.
Did
He
he just
doesn't
swap them?
teleport. He
God,
doesn't
Sean, you're
teleport. He
so
stops
dumb.
time.
Breathe
Duh.
if you agree that Sean's dumb.
Well, if we find out that scene was them showing us that he can also teleport objects, we're about to find out, and I
We're
will
gonna
be
be
right.
real fucking stupid, yeah.
This will be as bonkers of a theory as it invaded, where I said, what if they lined the holes up to each other's heads instead of kissing?
Oh,
I was wrong about that one.
ew, you were, and it was disgusting.
What do we think about Mr. Love
Dude,
Queen's
dude.
choice?
I do not
Such
know
a
why. I
son of a
cannot
bitch.
understand why in my head, but I'm so fucking hooked on this show. I'm so. I hate the main character. I hate her so much. She doesn't shut the fuck up. She always says really stupid things constantly. But I don't know why. But I just want to know what happens at the end of every episode. I just want to see the next one. This is a show that I could easily just binge out and just be like, maybe my brain turns off when I watch the show, and I don't know why. But like at the end of it, I'm just like, hell yeah, that was lit. Also, we forgot to mention there was just a part randomly in that episode where Gavin just tells her, "I'm an evolver, by the
Oh,
way,"
yeah.
and then drives
Oh
off.
yeah.
Well, it's really good.
It's
She's
like,
like, he's like, beware revolvers, and she goes, she's like, but I'm looking at you, and he goes, well, yeah, and then drives away.
but but like this whole episode, like nothing really happened like too much, but like we have confirmation that shocker, every single dude there is an evolver. So
Yeah.
how are they gonna duke it out? Why they decide that they have to fight each other is the method. I don't know. But I am curious to see why Gavin is targeting Lucian. I don't think he's going for Watashi. I don't really think.
Unless he's being like mind controlled, I couldn't imagine.
Okay, again, I don't think evolvers do
mind
that.
controlled
Sean.
by mind controlled
Well,
by
I didn't say
Dance
he's doing
Boy
it. He could be mind controlled by Black Swan.
or Dance Boy. We don't know his power yet.
That's true. We don't.
And the
don't
fact
know
that he
his
has like a
power.
lot of fans or whatever,
Yeah,
kinda could be mind control.
she did mention that like he's super popular, and that's a little weird, which is a weird way. By the way, Dylan, technically speaking, Kiro is an idol. He's just a single idol.
And also
He's
male.
my idol.
And to also help you understand idol, K-pop groups, idols, basically.
Yeah. Do you know who BTS is?
No.
It's
Okay.
K-pop.
It's K-pop.
Okay.
It's a group of like 4 identical, like maybe 5. I don't remember. They look literally the same, like same haircut, like
The Western version of idols is just boy bands.
yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So like Naked Brothers
Jonas
Band,
Brothers.
idol group. Jonas Brother, idol group. Big Time Rush, idol group.
But they have
Whoa,
more
whoa,
of a cult
whoa.
following. I feel like they have more
Yeah,
of a
Big
cult
Time Rush has a
following.
huge
You-
cult following.
So did oh my god.
Anyway,
The
we
Love
are-
Life fans
we
are
are
going to burn you to
really-
at the stake
we
for
are
saying Big Time
really-
Rush has more fans.
we
Oh,
really
well,
straight off
not,
topic.
like-
yeah, sorry.
K-pop groups.
Last thing about this show. Where do we stand?
I, like this
I
show.
am a
Have-
full Lucian stand now. The fuck,
No,
Gavin.
dude, you gotta be.
Fuck
either-
Victor. Kiro's a dipshit. Gavin's a gun shooter person. No,
I like Gavin
full
Victor.
Lucian stand. Full
I'm-
Lucian.
unless Lucian convinces me he isn't a creep, I'm full Gavin right now. I believe Gavin's not here to shoot a girl, and if he did, you know what? I don't know how mad I'd be about that.
Yeah, but he
Like
instantly
sometimes you
went.
gotta
I
take
mean,
a
I
hit.
want to shoot her
He instantly
sometimes.
went to protect her. Okay, it's clear that Lucian is the alpha of this 4-man group.
What? Gavin's. Wait, you could literally back that up and say Gavin's trying to protect her from Lucian.
Yeah, but
He
why would
did take her
Lucian
to
set up?
watch fireworks.
Lucian could have just like teleported
We
out or
don't.
some shit, but he
He
put a
doesn't
barrier up.
No one teleports.
Sean
I mean,
said they
that pudding
teleport,
was teleported. I don't know, man.
but what
Uh,
the point is that he put the shield up around her first.
Put the shield up in front of himself. She's next to him. He just puts up a
I
big shield.
refuse to believe that Gavin pulled a gun on them and Lucian went, "Okay, I'm shielding me." If that's what happened, I love this show. It's the best show. Uh huh. Are we good? Are we good?
Moving
Yeah,
on.
Lucian stand all the way, and I'm sure that everyone
You're
else
fucking
agrees.
wrong. It's
Yeah,
Victor.
imagine being dumb. Couldn't be me. Could be you.
Imagine
Next
thinking that
show.
Lucian's
Next
the
show.
best boy.
Next show.
Nathan, I think this is you. Talk to me
Is
about Rent a
it?
Girlfriend.
Fuck it, I'll take it. I love this
That
show.
was not. That was
Um,
Tanner, but
it,
Yeah,
it was
I think
Tanner, but
Nathan talks about it. Good, Nathan.
so Rent a Girlfriend. Pretty much, they're on vacation. Mizuhara is like, "Oh yeah, I trust him," and literally at that scene, Mami is kissing Kuzuya behind the rocks. He wants to get back with her. He spills, not necessarily spills the beans, but tells everyone that they're going to break up. He wants to get back with Mami Chan, and Kibe is being an absolute bro, fucking simps hard for Mizuhara, and punches the shit out of Kazuya, and then gives them both a ticket for a ferry ride, and she gets ultra sick and falls overboard, and Kazuya jumps in after her, and that is the scene in where she starts falling for him. Easy.
Easy clap. Yes. So that was a really quick description of the show.
That's all that happened.
I mean,
We
there is
forgot
a plotline. His grandmother's getting out of the hospital.
his grandma's getting out of the
Well,
hospital,
yeah, I
but
guess, yeah.
also that ferry ticket scene is a lot more.
Yeah.
There was like this episode. I think was Rent a Girlfriend's best episode. There was actual like development in our main character, which was a little bit last episode, but there was a lot this episode that I thought where he noticed like how much his friends like actually care about him and stuff, and how Kibe went out of his way to first off get Kazuya to stop having a fucking cum brain, and then two confronting Mizuhara and basically telling him like, yeah, sorry, like, but don't give up on him, kind of thing. And the entire time Mizuhara's like, yeah, but like in the back of her mind, starting to sow the seeds
We get a
of
couple of small
Yeah.
things.
This
When
episode's the one where she falls in love with him.
when
Easy.
when Kazuya tells her, "I'll rent you out one more time because Grandma's coming home. We don't have to do it anymore, and I'll just pay you, and it'll be fine." And then he walks away after that altercation where he's like, I'm sorry, I've been putting you through this. I'm such a I can't believe you had to date trash like me. Ugh, edge." And then walks away. She, under her breath, goes, "Dumbass," and then turns and walks. And then, I mean, we get the fairy ride scene's very interesting. I have a prediction for where this show's going. I don't know how big of a fan I'm going to be. I think it really depends on how they handled it. I get the feeling we're going to be wrapping up Mommy really soon, and that means we're going to be getting a new girl, and that the new problem is going to be that Mizuhara likes him now, and that's going to be the dynamic instead. Whereas it was the conflicting between Kazuya being between Mommy and Mizuhara, we're now going to be swapping it where she's gonna be upset that he's with someone else.
Oh, and he doesn't realize because he's fucking oblivious and thinks that she hates him.
So
Well, not
as
that hates
long,
him, but that she's just a rent-a-girlfriend.
yeah. So as long as this show doesn't literally bounce
I
back
like
and
that.
forth,
I like that.
oh yeah, I just can't take it if then afterwards we go back to Kazuya bouncing between her and a new girl as well. Like if it cycles it more than once, I'm gonna be upset.
But
This
there's
is
a different
something that has
dynamic
to
to
be.
it this time.
Yeah, I'm fine with that the first time. I'm saying if after that we go to another girl and it bounces again, where it's back to he doesn't know if he likes this new girl or her, then I have a problem. Like this show, I'm saying this because I've watched enough romance shows where they do this kind of thing where they bounce the main character between girls a lot for no goddamn good reason. So as long as like we have some consistency in character action and we don't just hit reset on Kazuya's character every episode,
Ah,
I'll be fine with this.
yes, 100%.
I already know who Best Girl is, and she has yet to be introduced.
Is it because you watched the opening or the
It's because I
ED?
watched the opening.
Wow. Imagine. But yeah, so I liked the ending of this episode. I was like, oh shit. Well, first off, if you're sick, why the fuck are you going on a ferry? That's just gonna make you more sick because it's fucking seasickness. But the funniest part was mommy's like, oh yeah, can you be here in 15 minutes? And he's like,
Booty
sure.
call.
As they're drifting away from shore. Like,
Dude,
okay,
they're so
do you know
fucking
how long
far.
it takes you to
He's
travel through water?
it's literally that Kazuya. I'm in the pool alone, and he looks over the ocean, and goes, "I'll be there."
Yeah.
And then
I was
his
like,
actual girl falls off the ferry. He goes, on second thought, "Fuck my phone.
yeah.
Yeet.
That phone's done."
He
Oh yeah.
yeets himself off that edge like a fucking
And he's gonna
I
what's gonna
high
happen?
dove.
I'm already calling it. What's gonna happen is she's gonna be like, "Why the fuck did you like jump after me? You didn't fucking do that." And he's like, "I don't know. I just acted on my own." And she's gonna be like, "Nani?" Yeah.
And
I
then
I
they
Please don't
appreciate
put that
kiss.
as the intro, please.
I appreciate the shot of when Kazuya goes to jump off the ferry worker going, "Wait, please no," behind him.
Not
It's
another
very
one.
good. Not another one. We can't afford business like this.
Good episode. Good episode.
Kibe's a Chad, wonderful character.
100%. I thought he was the MVP of this
I
episode.
I hated him and the other guy. If I'm being honest, I really didn't like their group dynamic.
But that's because you
Uh,
only saw it from like an outsider's perspective. Now you're
yeah,
actually in the group and see how they function.
yeah, I
Like
like
I'm
him a
sure
lot
from an
better.
outsider's perspective, we all look like a bunch of idiots.
That's true. I also did kind of like him in the other episode where they go out to eat and he was like, "Dude, I fucked up. I'm sorry." And he's like, "Whatever." But like the fact that he like acknowledges, I hate that he calls out Mommy-chan and then no one else says anything about it. They just let that shit slide. He's like, "You need to stop leading him on." Everyone's just like, no one says
He's
fucking
the only one with
anything about that.
he's the only one with the cojones.
Yeah, everyone else is too afraid.
Yeah, I'm a Kiba stan is basically what I'm trying to say. Lucina
Best cha-
Kiba.
best character in the season. Speaking of best things in the season, let's talk.
What?
Whose show is
Next.
this?
Oh, I'm the one doing it.
Woohoo! Sean, your favorite
Yeah.
show.
Oh, I'm so excited. I am torn. I hate anime, really. I don't know why I do a podcast like this. Let's talk about Super Hxeros. This episode we open with the problems. Uh we have Mahime. That's yeah.
Yep. Oh
Mahime,
yeah.
who is the pink-haired
How could
shy
I
girl, she has we see a dream where well actually first we see the bad guys and these three sister badlings be like we will catch the what's their team called? Are they just called the air like
Superheroes or
the
something.
superhero? Are they just called? I think they actually have a name and I forget it. But they're like, we'll catch their squad and dismantle them, and then we will take over the world. And they move ha with
Yes,
each other.
because the only way that they can dominate the world is they destroy a small group of high school students.
Yeah, you know they gotta start with Japan, and then once they deal with Japan, it's easy. They got the rest of
Dude,
the world.
they almost destroyed the one character just by slut shaming her so hard.
We'll get there. So we then jump into Mahime's dream where she is being tied up
Oh
and
yeah.
mhm,
And
I'm gonna
what?
yeah, and is it tentacles? It's tentacles, right?
It's
Yeah,
always tentacles.
it's
Yeah,
always
and so
tentacles.
she's being tentacle touched. Not a good time. She wakes up to find out that she is having this dream because the best character in the show, Rumba, is licking her midriff. To which we get one of the funniest scenes in my opinion of this episode, where she goes, "Rumba, what are you doing?" And he stops, looks her dead in the eyes, looks back down, and starts licking her again. It's actually a funny bit. And then Mahime interacts with Mahime goes to her old girl school, interacts with her friend Chia, who is she's perfect at everything, the best girl on the planet. We see Mahime fall down, get some more fan service scenes with her, and then we cut to Enjo fighting this tentacle monster that is this small little tentacle thing, and it goes, "You do not know my true form," and then we cut, we don't know what happens, and then the tentacle monster is now attacking Mahime's school. Mahime goes out to fight it. This tentacle starts to wrap around her, and then she breaks it off. And we find out that one of those tentacles is Enjo. He's been turned into a tentacle, uh, which is, I'll give it credit,
He's still
pretty
wearing
fun,
the bracelet.
pretty funny. Yeah, he still has the bracelet. And then she just blows away the tentacle monster. We found that all the tentacles are actually the students. Everyone's naked. Enjo gets blamed being a pervert. He runs away. We found out that Chiya was actually watching it, so she now knows Mahime is this person, and she's proud that she's finally good at something, even if it's being a weird, perverted superhero. And then we get the second half of this episode, which is crazy that it did this. The second episode focuses on Sora, who is our or smaller child, who
Your
who
standard
doesn't
lolly.
talk. Yeah, she's the standard deadpan lolly, and we find she walks up to Hoshino, touches her breast, and goes, "Yes, you are the ideal superheroine," and then walks away. And Hoshino goes, "What?" To which they go, "Oh, she just, she does her own thing, kind of." And then Hoshino finds in the hallway a book, and she finds that that Sora just draws erotica. To which Sora goes, "You now have to do me a favor because you know my secret." And then she has her pose nude for her book so that she has a good reference. To which she goes, "Hold this recorder for me." She goes, "Why?" And she goes, "Let me explain." And we get a comic book page explanation of a scene between Enjo and Hoshino where Enjo rushes in, and it's a treat. And then their alarm goes off, and Enjo rushes in, trips, falls onto Sora, catches the recorder, and we get a small little recorder toot, which is also a funny bit. And then I believe Hoshino shoves it up his ass from the way that the show portrays it. They then go to fight off the next wave of enemies, and it is at a bookstore that Sora is familiar with. Sora grows wings for her powers and just starts obliterating these small little bugs. And Joe rushes off to deal with the main culprit, and Hoshino has been captured.
Hmm.
And that's where we're left off. The squad zips up, suits up. We get some half nude shots of them getting ready to go save Hoshino. This show has a problem, and that is that everything
What?
about it, with the exception of the porn, is really good. If it
A-list
wasn't here,
A-list voice actors, fucking amazing animations, solid like smooth transitions. The comedy is funny. The
the
show,
music's good.
the music, the score and music is good. The only problem is that there's a titty in every other shot.
It's not. Honestly, I could deal with that if that was all it was. You can't tell me
Also, I just want to
that.
say, I don't know who said it earlier, but honestly, why are we even trusting my anime list for the scores? Because this show has a 5.76. It's so good. It's just a masterpiece. Honestly, it should have a 9.
Yeah. Um.
I'll give you
Yeah.
that. Hear me out. I'm gonna be real for a second. If you are someone, viewer, if you are someone who likes ecchi content, if you've watched Food Wars and can stomach it, if you've watched High School DxD, you've watched High School of the Dead, you've watched Plunderer or Gleipnir, and you really like that stuff, and you can take it, and you don't see a problem with sitting there watching what is basically just porn on your screen, this show's really good. You should watch it. You'll love it. It'll be a 10 out of 10 in your book. I highly recommend it. It's probably the show of the season for you. If you're someone who can't stomach ecchi, the show is hot garbage. Like it literally, it's just there's too much of it prevalent everywhere.
It's actually so funny to watch them fucking censor shit now because it's literally they're not even like trying to be like clever with it. It's just
Yeah,
two giant fucking supernovas right on their nipples.
I appreciate that there are certain scenes where they could have just drew like their pajama outfits a little longer and you wouldn't even notice, but they go, "No, we're going to keep it the length we want it to be, and we're just going to put this sensor between her legs, and we're just going to make you assume that either we don't want to show you panties or she's not wearing any." Cuz that happens at least 3 times this episode where there's sensor in spots where I go, "Why was that there?" I was like, that means you drew it to intend to show us that on scenes that had no reason to do that. Oh, sorry. There's also a scene where I forgot. It's Momoka, I think, is the other one. Where she just gropes Mahime because she can.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
because they were arguing about the
breast
breast
size.
enhancement.
Because that's still an important thing.
I
Look,
mean, yeah, it
I
is in a show about hentai.
Listen,
the
you're having
past three
callbacks to past episodes. You know,
the
we did
past
say we liked that earlier.
don't the past 3 episodes have been atrocious. This episode's the only one that has any good merit to it, in my opinion. But I mean, it's a matter that this is probably like, look, I'll be real with you. It's this, Gibiate, and Monster Girl Doctor. One of them's gotta go, and they're probably all gonna go in that order. Like that's kind of how I feel. Like I can't justifiably, in my opinion, keep this show longer than the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Listen, the only problem I have with the show is the amount of etchy that it has. The other shows have so many more problems. I'm voting those off first.
I almost feel like Monster Girl Doctor, despite not being as high caliber, doesn't have nearly as bad of ecchi as this. Is the problem?
No, if I had to pick an order in which to go in an ideal world, it's Gibiate, Monster Girl Doctor, this, and then
I don't
whatever
know
we
how I
start
feel
with the
about
middle.
that.
Yeah, I'm ready for this show to go whenever. So I'm just gonna keep slaying it until y'all are ready to slay it too. I am much more interested in the other shows. Now, this show is a lot of comedic relief and humor that I find really funny. But in terms of like an actually good show, I don't like it. I'm ready. I'm ready to stop watching it. Like it was funny the first 3 episodes. Fourth one, I was like, oh, it again. It's getting repetitive, but like that's the entirety of the show that it's based on, right? Good, actually good episode. I like we see the villain finally, like the
Yeah, I
main
mean,
villain.
I
But
think I'm
like
ready.
I'm so ready for this show to go.
I'll give this one more week because I want to.
No.
I want to get rid of the other stuff first. Gibiate physically pains me to watch. Like I am physically in pain every time I watch that show, and just because I want that to go way more, all of the other shows have saves, except for Gibiate.
Let's move on. Dylan,
Yeah, what's up?
talk to me about God of High School.
So, do you want me to talk about the last episodes or just this
No,
one?
no, just talk. We'll talk this one, and then if we want to talk about some stuff that we like overall, we can.
Oh, okay. So this episode starts out with a really sharp transition into a different plot point that I just maybe I didn't see it, but I wasn't expecting. But apparently, Yumira is getting married to some random guy,
Oh,
and
Ah,
this whole scene, like the whole episode, is about her like wanting to continue on the heritage of like her sword craft, and like making sure that her dad's happy, and like this person that she's getting married to, who by the way literally pulled over on the side of the street, came out of his car and said, "Will you marry me?"
he was looking for her.
Apparently he had like a lot of influence and power that he would use to make her sword craft at the top. Well, we find out a little bit into the show that he's actually part of the evil organization, right? The evil people. And his goal is actually to get her sword. But she doesn't carry her sword around, she carries around a wooden prop sword. Anyway, this episode continues. She's conflicted while he's manipulating her, but she's really conflicted. She decides to go on with the wedding to be happy. Her uncle's there to like be like, "No, stop, you shouldn't be doing this." Her younger sister, or would that be her niece?
niece.
It'd be her niece, is saying like, "Oh, like do whatever is good for you." That the uncle's like, maybe this isn't right. I don't know if this is what your father would want. She's like, "No, I'm getting married. You can't stop me." Um, so our main character, Jin, finds out, as well as Dewi is his last name. I know that better. They find out, and then they have an argument between each other. Like Jin's like, "Oh, we should go save her," and Dewey's like, "I don't think it's any of our business. I'm not going to do anything." And Jin's like, "Well, that doesn't seem right." And Dewey's like, "Yeah, but I don't really care." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go do it without you then." And then he goes and does it, and then Dewey shows up because he's like, "Okay, maybe you're right." They beat the shit out of some security guards, and then they beat the shit out of the guy. The guy summons again this devil like JoJo stand. No, he
But
summons like
he didn't
uh,
faint this time though. The other guy fainted, which
Yeah,
I thought was
what?
we'll
interesting.
talk.
So and then while that figure was like he was making emotions with a sword, and the bigger figure was attacking too, so it was a little different. I wonder if they have like different ways of like controlling their apparitions that they summon. I don't know what name to call it yet, so I'm just gonna call it
We haven't been told yet.
their stands. But they defeat him. They don't really show too much of like how I was a little disappointed in that. But then they're like, "Oh shit, we got to get back to the tournament, right?" So they're like hyping up this fight between Mira and Dewi, and then Dewi the night before finds out that his friend dies. He's like uber traumatized by it. I'm pretty sure his friend
Holy
died.
shit!
He was in
Yeah,
like a really bad like he was in like a really bad state. I think he
They
died.
were
Like I'm pretty sure he died. And then
I think
he
it was
was like
cancer or something.
he was affected by cancer, but like cancer doesn't kill you right away. But he probably
yeah.
like just like over the time just like lost all function. Anyway, so Dewi's like all fucked up, and then that same scenario that happened before where the three guys came up to bully him and he just ignored it. They did it again, and he ended up like literally murdering three of them. Um, Walked out of that place with blood dripping off his hands. Walked into the fucking stage and just beat the living shit out of Mira. Jin walks in right when she gets fucking knocked, just straight fucking knocked. And then Dewi just walks past him and says, "See you in finals," which by the way, so fucking badass. But like, bro, that was hard to watch. Like him just like fucking wailing on her after she had that entire episode about like fixing
Uh
herself.
huh.
understanding who she was, just to get absolutely fucking railed by a dude that punches hard. Yeah, I honestly like this episode was like obviously it's good. It's just God of High School is just a good show, but like it was so weird to me to, and I'm sorry for talking a lot, but I'm just gonna say this.
No, it's
It
fine.
was so weird to me to first off have this weird like transition to she's getting married all of a sudden to her having this whole episode about her just for it to no longer be about her. unless I don't know how they're doing it, but like I'm pretty sure that like God of High School, like you win these are like preliminaries, aren't they?
Yeah,
Like they're not
yeah,
even
they're
the
like
actual thing.
qualifiers.
So it'd be really weird if, because I felt like Mira was like one of those support characters. Like, does she just get dropped, or is she like going to be continuing on later to do something? And if so, like, does she get to join the tournament later, or is she just done? Because that fucking sucks if she's just done.
I can't imagine that she's done because this very much felt like, knowing this is a webcomic, this very felt like this is somewhere in the beginning of the webcomic, this stuff with Mira, and they had to decide as an animation team where it best fit. And I think this is the right call. I think giving us this now makes sense. It could also be here because like there's a lot of moments where they're like, "This is right before the fight. How could you drop out?" So it probably might have been here, but this definitely feels like, it's meant to give us more into Mira, and I think it's well done because you're not expecting it. You're not expecting us to spend the episode on Mira and then for them to go. By the way, here's this scene with Daiwi, where his friend just dies and then he just loses it. I'm uncertain about if his friend's fully dead because like his friends, they're getting AEDs, are trying to resuscitate him. We don't see anything yet. I would think he is, but a part of me also wants to say I don't know why. I'm interested to know why, as a character, instead of just backing out of the tournament and losing motivation to keep fighting when this was why he was fighting, he wanted the money to help his friend's treatment, why his reactions instead he's just going to pummel everyone into dust now.
Well, he's angry.
Yeah, but like I can't, like, to me this is a level of anger that is nuts. And if this is like, I'm curious to see where they go with him because, I don't know if losing to Jin's enough to like curb that anger. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how much of an impact this has on his character. This next episode's going to be nuts. This final fight is going to be insane. I don't even
Well,
think we're going to
hold
see
on,
the semifinal with
hold
Jin.
on. What that's what I mean. We should though. We haven't even watched that fight yet.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's gonna be long because we haven't, like, all the other characters in the past episode we've seen the main characters fight have been like mentioned at some point, right? Like we know who they are. Like they were showcased in that opening free for all. I don't know who this guy Jin's fighting is.
Oh yeah, true. I
So
guess.
like
I don't
I
know.
imagine this is gonna be a pretty clean curb stomp from Jin. We might get a little bit of an inner monologue from him as like about how he feels about what he just watched and like might be a tad off his game and distracted, but I think the next episode's gonna be almost entirely their fight for the
Hype.
God, I
finals.
hope so.
I imagine we might get like redemption qualifiers kind of things for the other characters for Mira and Daiwi because I can't imagine they're just gone. Like that's been something that's been in my mind since we started this arc of the show is Jin should probably win. He's our main character. He's fucking busted. But what do you do about these other two characters? Because they're interesting. The fact that Mira is arguably sometimes stronger without her sword is very interesting. And I like her as a character.
Yeah, I honestly think
Um,
she's a really good, like, strong character on her own.
I hated. It really did bother me when we started to get a little bit of her backstory in episode 3, I think, where it very much felt like she came from a family that was like, you need to find a successor to the sword style technique, and my brain's like the fuck can't she just be the successor?
Yeah.
Like, I understand it's probably like a heritage thing of like the man must run the dojo, but man, I just want that to be broken so bad because there's clearly no one better than her. Like, I can't imagine her finding a sword fighter who's up to her level and who she's actually going to enjoy being with. So I want to see more of her. I want to see what they do with Daiwi now because I don't know what he does. Like his whole motivation's been thrown out the window. Like he's just an angry boy.
He is angry boy. Nathan, what'd
He's
you
an
think?
angry strong boy.
I mean, I really like. It was hard to watch, and I really enjoyed the fight scene with Daiwi. like literally just him pummeling the shit out of someone. Like it sucks that it was Mira, but like I really enjoyed seeing him fucking lose it and just go fucking hog wild and beat the shit out of someone, no holds bars.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I think as much as I would have liked to have seen that fight in full, I don't think I could have watched that fight in full. I think that probably would have been that would have been hard to watch that full fight because I imagine he was going at it for a bit there. But I also I don't think there was a better way to do this. Like I think this was so well done because now the impact going into that final matchup has so much more weight.
Yeah.
Like Jin
Yeah.
has a reason to want to actually beat the shit out of someone who he considered a friend.
I really enjoyed like. Do you know who's the studio who runs the show?
Off the
No.
top of my head, no.
Because whoever it fucking is really good at making you feel the weight behind their punches. Like the fights are just so clean and
Oh.
so enjoyable to watch, and you feel like the weight behind each punches. Especially Daiwi, he's probably my favorite to watch so far. Just because you literally just like you feel the weight of their punches and stuff like that. Who is it? Trigger or something?
No, we are familiar with this studio. I don't know if it's the same animator who's doing it, but the studio's Mappa, and we are familiar with Mappa because they did Dorohedoro. We said very similar things about Dorohedoro's fight. Is that about its fight scenes? Is that it carries weight? Like,
Yeah.
every impact
Dude,
felt.
I gotta go watch that again with the fucking hammer. Oh my god. It's not about that. Okay, anyway. God of High School. Are we good on God of High School?
I mean, I'm just excited for the next episode.
Still no high school, by the way. Still waiting for that. But you know,
Because they can't all be in high school, right? Like some of these people, I think are older than high school. I think our main cast is, but
no, Sean. Everyone's in high school.
everyone's in high school.
How could you join the God of High School tournament if you're not in high school? It doesn't even make sense. Shut up, Sean. Next show.
True. Yeah.
They also are
Nathan,
making Mr. Love Queen's choice too.
Nathan, finish us out. Let's
All
talk
right.
about
So-
Misfit of Demon Academy.
This one I watched literally because I was excited. I watched it immediately, like after.
Episode 4. Let's make it clear. It's episode 4.
Yeah,
We're talking
episode 4. I watched it immediately after last week, so I'm a little fuzzy on it. Basically, I think they have to do some sort of test or whatever, and they formed a group, the three of them, Misha, Sasha, and Anos.
Anos.
Anos. I can't remember how to say it.
Voldiga.
Anos.
Do
But
you want help with the recap?
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
they just pretty much do the test. They find the scepter. She wants her to hate.
That's
Right,
part
so
of
it's
that's part of
Sasha.
episode. That's part of episode 3.
You're thinking
Yeah,
3. So
it's
it's
all
after.
starting to blend together at this point, to be honest.
You started to
That's a good
talk
show.
about this last week. So this episode is Sasha and Misha coming together.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the
Literally.
Anos has to send them back in time so that they are because they were affected by a spell that split them into two beings. So that he's going to send them back, but to do so they have to believe in him.
I didn't
as being-
understand. God, finish your summary. I got a
Yeah,
question.
Sure, we'll talk about it. He has to send them back in time, and they have to believe in him for it to be successful. And as he goes to do this, first Ivis, that is his name, right? I
Ivis,
didn't go
yeah.
back to check it. Yeah, their father comes down, tries to kill him, stabs him, and Anos drops some of my favorite one-liners of this
Dude, he had
season.
so many good
He has
ones.
so many good ones. The first one I believe he goes is, "Did you think killing me was how you were going to stop me? Did you think that was good enough? That if you killed me, I would die?"
Hold on, I think I
and-
wrote it down. Do you think
Please.
killing me is enough to make me die?
Yes, that's the first one, and then he yeets Ivis across the room and bodies him. They go through with the time travel. They get to the time realm. The time god comes out and goes, "What the fuck are you doing, Anos? You're not allowed to do this. I have to stop you." And he brings in Ivis, merges himself with Ivis to give him the power of the time god. And then now time Ivis is like, "I'm going to stop you here, Anos." And we also revealed that Ivis clearly knows Anos is the original. That's it's revealed that he seems to have been lying about losing parts of his memory, to some degree. We'll go into that.
Mhm.
And then Anos goes, "You can't stop me," and he just puts up 20 shields. And Ivis breaks through every shield, stops time, freezes Misha and Sasha, and then Anos walks forward and goes, "You can't stop me." And he goes, "Why the fuck did that not work on
He
you?"
goes, "Did you think you could stop me in my tracks by stopping time?"
So good. And then Anos Misha and Sasha break out calling Anos' name. He summons his sword, to which Ivis goes, "You don't have a sword." And Anos goes, "No one who's ever seen the swords lived," and then bodies him. He then sends Misha and Sasha back, and then he transports back to the castle, and then he revives Ivis, and he goes, "You are now not going to tell anyone that you survived this encounter. You're going to be my eyes, and you're going to investigate the fake me, Avos Dilihivia, and figure out what's going on by looking at the rest of the elders and figuring out what's going on." And then Misha and Sasha come back. Anos gives Misha the ring that she was looking at. Anos reveals that Sasha kissed him, to which Sasha goes, "Oh, it was a friend kiss, okay." And then they go to have a meal at his family's house. They leave on them heading towards that. This episode, dude.
I argue that this was the best episode
Yes,
of the week.
I argue it's the
100%.
best episode of the week, the best episode of this show yet. This show doesn't. I got 4 minutes into this episode and went, "Why is this happening now?" I went, "This is something that I would expect 12 episodes of build up for, and for a finale to be."
Yeah.
This show's pacing is incredible in the way that like it handles everything. Like his power level is so scaled so high that anything that feels like it should happen in 20 episodes, I could believe happening now because I
Yeah.
just watched it happen.
I love this show, man.
It's so good.
Show's good.
You had some questions, Dylan?
Yeah, so he's like, okay, so their souls got, and remember, I'm really stupid.
There's one child.
There was one child, their souls got split. So he
Yes.
wanted to bring them back in time and then split them again.
So you want to take this?
I
Or
think
try to.
I think what he was trying to do was he was taking them. So they were gonna fuse on their 15th birthday.
Yes.
So instead of fusing on their 15th birthday, he fused what would be their current self with their past selves.
Yes. So he went back in time to where they split and split them again and then fused them
No,
with
he
their
didn't split.
parts of the
So
splits.
they split back in time, right? So he took the current split twins, both Misha and Sasha, at age 15 or 14 and like 364 days or whatever. So he took them at 14, put them back in time. Then the 14-year-old Sasha and the baby version of Misha fused. So there's 4 in total, and now there's 2, and they grow up as twins.
Is that not what I said?
You're saying that they split like again? They didn't split at all again.
No, he took the split babies.
No, he took the split adults and fused it with the split babies. He
Yes.
didn't split anything more.
Yeah.
We are explaining the same thing, but in poor ways.
Okay, because it sounded like Dylan thought that he
Yeah.
split them again.
Well, he went back in time to where they were being born, and they were split. So he took they're currently split, and he took their old splits.
Mhm.
So he like fused the splits from another split
From the past, not another
from
split.
the past. This would make a lot more sense if everyone else watched the episode too. By the way, please watch the episodes before you listen to this podcast.
Show's really good. We should probably disclaimer that always.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll worry about that later. I'll add it in post. No, but this is such a good episode. I can't. There's another really good line Anos delivers where he looks at Ivis and in the time dimension, looks at Ivis and goes, "Did you think you could beat me in my castle?"
You
do
come
know where
in
you
my
are right
house
now.
disrespecting me.
Yep.
I mean, it's very good. The show does such a good. Like, there's also, we finally get I imagined this was the answer to the question when they did that exam, but we finally get Anos to confirm the question of if you have a son who is more powerful but has less lineage, and a daughter who has more lineage but is less powerful, or maybe it's the other way around. No, it's the son has more lineage, less power. The daughter has less lineage, more power. Which one would you save? And his answer is both. And it doesn't surprise me that's his answer to that question, because he very much strikes me as the guy who's like, family should come first. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, also he's just probably strong enough to save both in any scenario ever.
He's literally like, what are you doing? Why do you think you have to abide by any laws of the universe?
I love the
demon
fact
king
that,
like me.
in the opening, it's like him being born, and they're like, "What should we name him?" And he literally is like, "My name is Elnas
Those
Polygon."
Polygon.
And they're
That
like,
scene is
"He
really good.
talked."
Oh, the parents are so good. I know we talked very briefly about them, but the scene we get, I think, in episode 3, where, or maybe it's the end of 2, when he comes back with both Misha and Sasha, and his father goes, "You've brought home a second wife! Even I haven't done that!" is
Yeah.
really good. No, I like this show. I'm excited to see where it goes. I imagine now we have to get more characters, not because like Misha and Sasha are done, but because like we've handled a lot of their arc. Now they just need to kind of grow, I think.
Yeah, I'm interested to see sort of if Misha actually develops like the demon eyes or whatever, because I think from what I understand, they fused with like the opposite
That was
one
how he worded it,
as
so
their
I'm
baby
curious.
versions. So I'm
I'm
very
very
curious to see if she'll develop like they'll develop each other's powers.
The show's
Oh,
good.
but she got the chick. Misha got the ring. That was dope.
Yes. The ice ring and the fire cloak. And I guess Anos has a scepter now.
Yeah, he took it back. He's like, give me that shit, bitch.
And apparently a sword.
Yeah, I mean, well, he only brings that out when, we're
Oh,
not gonna.
Nathan, you said you've seen his sword and lived?
Oh, we have to rectify.
What?
Uh-oh.
Yikes.
It's not
No,
good.
this is really good. The full title of this show, by the way, if you didn't know, because it's based on a light novel, is Misfit of Demon King Academy: History's strongest demon king reincarnates and goes to school with his descendants.
Yeah.
It's a good show. In case you needed the whole title to
That's
find it.
kind of what the show's about a little bit. Fighting
Let
time gods isn't really in the synopsis, but
I hope we see more gods there. That was a really cool design.
Mhm.
That time realm was really cool.
Yep.
Just everything about this episode oozed amazing coolness. I loved it.
And it's only episode 4.
Yeah.
Give me
So do we
more.
do we need to talk? Do we need to talk about what we're slaying, or are we just gonna slay?
I'm slaying
So
Monster Girl Doctor and Gibiate.
I am slaying a few shows that I'm okay with. Just like I'm just slaying the ones that I'm just like I don't want to watch anymore. I'm not singling out anyone's because I feel like I kind of hate these ones just equally. Yeah. Wait.
I'm slaying 2 shows because I believe that one show doesn't deserve to slay yet this week.
All right.
Of the 3 that I think deserved it, and after talking through, there were like 2 other shows that I was kind of on the fence of whether or not I should slay them. They're fine. I was glad to see we were in agreement that they were all pretty good. I
I
just thought they need a
am
little.
submitting.
I think Lapis, like kind of my last thoughts. I think Lapis and Mr. Love both kind of need to like get us to a plot point to stick. Like I hope next episode for Mr. Love we see a little bit about Black Swan and like we start to have like something for them to be working towards besides the new
Lucian's part
episodes
of
every
Black
week.
Swan. I'm calling
You
that.
think?
That's why Gavin's hunting him.
We'll have to
Or
see.
Gavin's under the impression he's with Black Swan.
If Lapis at least starts to build the idol group, sure, it can stay another week maybe. uh, but yeah, I have 2 shows I'm slaying. This will be interesting to
I think
see
I'm
this week.
slaying 3.
I'm
3.
slaying. Well, apparently I'm slaying 3. I've accidentally slayed Cinderella 9.
Well,
I
it's a
didn't.
good thing I'm not doing that.
I didn't mean to do that. I'm only, apparently I'm
Let
slaying
me
3. I only meant 2. So, Superheroes has 2 slays, which is tied with Monster Girl, which has 2. Lapis has 1 slay, and Gibiate also has 2 slays. So we have to actually go to the wheel for this between Gibiate,
Oh,
Monster Girl.
no, we do a tiebreaker first.
Oh yeah, we do. There are
Did we do
3 of us.
tiebreakers?
We do a tiebreaker.
We
I guess we
generally
did.
like to discuss.
We revote on the 3 ties, and then we do wheel.
Yeah. So we see if there's a show we want to drop off those
Yeah.
slays.
So in between what 3 shows?
Gibiate, Monster
Monster
Girl
Girl
Doctor,
Doctor
and then
and
Superhero.
I really think Gibiate's just the worst show of the 3.
I
mean, I
100% agree with you.
I put Slay on Heroes and Gibiate. I kept Girl Doctor because I honestly thought it had a good episode this week.
I mean, I think it has a good episode this week. I have no faith in it not falling back to its former
Oh,
trends.
more faith in superheroes, I see.
I also slayed that. I
Oh.
would honestly
So Nathan's the hentai watcher.
I would honestly sit through another week of Gibiate.
No,
Really?
absolutely not. I would sit
I don't
through
know.
another week of Monster Girl Doctor and another week of Supergirl Heroes or Super Hentai Heroes, but I cannot fucking sit through another episode of Gibiate. My fucking eyes were assaulted. Like, it literally has quite literally been the worst show I've literally ever seen.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay. No, yeah, I just didn't like Gibiate just doesn't impress me. It's coming from like I picked that show, and like normally I'd be biased towards it, but no, I don't want to watch it anymore. I definitely think
So
that Gibiate was the worst. Like, yeah, I want to get these fucking hentai shows out of here, but like if I gotta sit through another fucking episode of Gibiate, bro, holy fuck.
yeah, so Monster Girl Doctor I think has potential to not be terrible. Well,
Monster
okay,
Girl
let me
Doctor.
rephrase that.
Sorry to interrupt. I'll just say after. Go ahead.
I think Monster Girl Doctor might not fall back into the patterns. Like I've seen shows improve. Monster Girl Doctor might not fall back into the patterns it will. It had. It still will be etchy, but it will not be as bad as Gibiate. Gibiate, terrible show. Monster Girl Doctor is at least okay to watch. For me, Superheroes is actually funny. It has a good soundtrack, it has good animations, good voice actors. The only problem is etchy. Monster Girl Doctor for me has more problems in that the characters are boring. It's uncomfortable to watch. I don't think the score is that great, and I'm not super okay with the world building because it really felt like it was like, oh, there's a huge war, and then everyone forgot what it was about, and now we're okay. We haven't seen any sort of like racism, I guess, that you would think you would have with that.
You
Uh,
know what's sorry, I just for that point. No, I'll let you finish talking. I'll let Dylan talk, and I'll give my opinions.
So for Gibiate, the show is absolutely deplorable. Terrible soundtrack. The animation is bad. I can literally like count the number of frames where they're actually moving. The show is just riddled with terrible CGI. Oh my god, that fucking helicopter like sequence. Like they literally aren't moving. Like when he fell out of the helicopter, it was literally him static with like lines showing that he's moving and that's it. Literally it. The fucking Gibiate are stupid. The designs are horrible. They're awful to look at. They move janky. The CGI is like rendered in a low frame rate, and it's just awful to watch. Uninteresting characters. Terrible story.
So to argue why I believe, I think Gibiate's the worst show. I think Monster Go Doctor is not the worst show because actually, unlike the other two shows that are tied with it currently, it actually goes back to old things. It doesn't just like once something's done, it's done. It actually goes back and old characters resurfaced pretty quickly. To answer your question about the racism thing, there was literally the smuggler in the episode that we just watched.
I
Literally talked
guess.
about that, and they talked about how this city that they're in is one of the only cities that doesn't have this type of racism around it, right? So, I mean, yes, it's kind of hard to point out the racism esque of this show when they're in the quote unquote only city that doesn't have the problem, right? I guess if they move somewhere else, then I guess we'll see racism, right? But like right now, I think it's absolutely fine that we don't see it. And we even see it in mercenaries who want the war to go back, right? Superheroes, I find it hilarious that you are more uncomfortable with people walking in on you watching Monster Girl Doctor than you watching superheroes. That just seems really strange to me. when
It's
Oh,
easier
I
to
know my
explain.
audience.
It's easier to explain real porn than it is to explain why
Yeah.
you're staring at
Listen, my mom walks in
monsters.
and you're like, Mom, I like titties. You walk in and he's fucking fingering a cloaca. You're like, well, I got nothing for this.
It's my job, Mom. Sorry, I'm not being paid to do it, but I have to. There's a gun
Yeah.
to my head.
No,
It's called my
I guess there's just a
podcast.
difference. It's just strange to me. But yeah, I do think Gibate's definitely the worst show of these three right now. Whether the debate between Doctor and Heroes isn't really, that's probably a next week thing. But like right now, between these three, I don't think Gibate has any merit going on another week. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I'll address the I'll address the Monster Girl Doctor and superheroes point first. We'll probably unfortunately have to do this again next week. Um, Monster Girl Doctor, in my opinion, I don't like it because I think it's just gonna fall right back into its pattern. I know you say it's not, but literally, episode 2 was great. It had very little of it, and then we get every scene with the Flesh Golem in episode 3, and it's horrible. And then we have episode 4, which is generally fine in my opinion. I think episode 5 is just gonna back that train back up. I don't really care too much about the racism argument because we saw Somali did it the opposite way. Where we saw a bunch of racism, but like the world didn't like. It felt like it still failed in that section of it. Like it didn't feel like things were justified at all. Whereas like I'm content with the explanation of they worked hard to build this city and people get along, and like because it's not literally like that feels more like here's the background to the setting. What's more important is what's going on now. Like if it becomes a bigger importance about the tension between humans and monsters, and I want to see it, but that's not what this show's about. It's about a doctor and porn. Um, I'm not superhero. I just, dude, I can't. As much as I like every good aspect about that show, there's such as outweighing on the scale there. It's so bad. I honestly, like, this is why I'm being honest about this. I think Gibiate's hot garbage. I must have watched something that looks worse than it at some point in time for me to go. I could sit through another week of it. My brain just cannot handle me having to watch both of the porns again next week. I don't want to. I have no desire to. I don't care to. I would just rather them all be gone and then go, yes, give me a hot garbage, solve this problem. I mean, I guess my brain always like I kind of want to see the resolutions to the cliffhangers we have in Gibiate, even though I think I'm right and the doctor's not gonna die. I'm interested to see how they're setting some of the things up because they feel too scattered to make the next episode happen in any coherent way. This is kind of like I'm watching a train a train crash and I can't look away. I have to watch its outcome. I have to see the horrible things that come from it. Another week at least. In the end I will admit I'm probably watching at least one of these hentai shows for another 2 weeks, and I don't know if I can handle that either way.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Like you say, like superheroes is so bad, but there's only one part that like you're disagreeing with, and that's the ecchi. It's the only like.
But it's such a core part.
It's
Of
I
Oh,
Gibiate.
okay.
understand
Yeah,
it's
no,
such a
100%.
core part of it, but like you can't say there's so much wrong with it when there's only one thing wrong with it. Granted, it is the whole thing. So like I have a problem with your wording on it, but I agree, ecchi is bad.
Okay, the one predominant thing about the show is my problem with it, and thus predominantly I have a problem with the show. Is
Yeah.
that better? I have no fear. I have no fear
No
for my
fear.
decision. I have no fear of my decision. If I have to take it to a wheel, I will. That's how I. That is. I would rather take a 1 out of 3 chance that Gibiate goes than know it's going. I would rather
Well,
risk.
You're a
Well,
fucking
Sean,
psychopath.
fortunately for me, I don't have to convince you. I had to convince Dylan, and Gibiate is actually going this week because it has 2 slays. Everything else had 1.
Damn. That is fair. You know the hill I die on.
I know the hill you die on. You
I
don't
will.
like titties. We understand.
Did you vote slay on both Doctor and
Yes.
Hxeros so that even if
Yes.
I or Nathan put one on that, I'd be forced to a wheel?
Yes.
Sean plays the game and he plays it well, but this time I rolled the dice and I convinced Dylan to save
explain
Bro.
the-
I was
let me
already
ex-
sold on the show. I just didn't think it would tie.
Let me explain the other underlining reason, right? Last week we sat here and I said, I really don't want to watch these 2 shows again. And you both went, man, Uzaki-chan's fucking terrible. You're going to deal with another week of porn. So my brain went, I can't handle these 2 porn. They are terrible. You're going to deal with another week of Gibiate. And if I could have gotten away with it, I wouldn't have felt bad for a second. If I had to suffer this week, you could have suffered next week. I would have compromised.
Yeah, let me know how the next episode of Superheroes is, by the way, Sean. And Monster Girl Doctor while we're fucking at it.
You will hear
100%.
about it
Two
next
more-
week on the
By
podcast.
2 weeks from now, we'll get to like the okay shows. But for now, we're just getting
Fuck
out
the
the
porn.
garbage. Getting
Fuck
out
the garbage. 4.5. Get the fuck out of here.
Unfortunately, the port is really well animated, so it's got to stay.
I can't wait for next week where you convince me that Lapis is a terrible show and we must thus keep the other shows around longer.
Listen, the CGI on Lapis was really rough. It was animated at like 12 frames.
Yeah, no. I'm a Tiara stan.
Oh no.
She's the best idol of the fucking group. Shut up, Sean.
Okay, thank you guys for joining us for this week's episode. Next week, so if you want to watch along with what we have, just so you know, next week we are watching episode 5 of Cinderella 9 Re 5, Refine, episode 5 of Deca-Dence, episode 5 of The God of High School, episode 5 of Great Pretender, 5 of Lapis Re, 5 of the Misfit King of Demon Academy, 5 of Monster Girl Doctor, 4 for Mr. Love Queen's Choice, 5 for Rent a Girlfriend, and 5 for Super Hxeros.
Woo!
Join us then.